Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Good morning, Tim Bennett here from the Cortland Voice, and we're here live. Sheila Cohen from the League of Women of Cortland County Women's Voters. Sorry, go ahead, Sheila.
Okay, welcome to the Cortlandville Town Council Candidate Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Cortland County in collaboration with the Cortland Voice. In light of concerns about COVID-19 and the Delta variant, we are hosting candidates via Zoom and streaming forums to facebook.com/Cortland Voice for the public. The forums will also be archived on YouTube for future viewing. We will have a few words first from Tim. Could you say a bit more, Tim? And Tim is the owner and publisher of the Cortland Voice.
Good morning, everyone. Tim Bennett here once again for the Cortland Voice. I am the owner and publisher of the Cortland Voice. We're online news only, free local news media outlet that only covers Cortland County exclusively. We wanted to be involved with reaching out and making sure that everyone does hear from every side, from different candidates that were running for office in the different municipalities of Cortland County. Today, obviously, we're doing the town of Cortlandville. I want to thank each of the candidates for joining us today. I want to thank Dr. Brian Williams of SUNY Cortland for joining us today. And we hope that you are able to watch this, learn from this, and, choose from what you see, who you'd like to use for your vote. These are two of the candidates. There are also a few other candidates as well that are running for office, and we will do some sort of a follow-up or something like that so that we make sure that everyone knows who the candidates are that are running, and then you make your informed decision from there. But once again, we provide this information and the opportunity to watch this for free because we want you, regardless of your financial situation, we want you to be able to afford to get this because the decisions that are made by people you elect affect you, your everyday life. We really care about that. And it will be archived. We'll have it on our website before the end of the weekend. And we'll also share it again with the volume hired once we get it on YouTube because we edit it, or we have the video edited. And once again, thank you all. Cortlandvoice.com. Thank you. God bless.
Okay, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government, works to increase understanding of public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy after intensive study. The League does not support any political candidates nor any political parties. Membership is open to those 16 and over, regardless of political affiliation and gender. There's no membership fee for students. For membership information, email lwvcortland@gmail.com. I want to thank a few people who helped us out in preparing. Thanks to Joe Schaefer and Dottie Fowler for laying the groundwork for the forum. Thank you to people who helped with the questions, some league members and members of the public who sent in questions via email. Questions were screened by league members, John Suarez and Mecca Nagel. John Suarez is the director of the Institute of Civic Engagement at SUNY Cortland. Professor Nagel is a member of the philosophy department at SUNY Cortland. Our moderator is Brian Williams, a professor in the political science department at SUNY Cortland, who has the discretion to prioritize questions where necessary. I now turn the program over to Brian. Thank you very much, Brian, for participating.
Thank you, Sheila. Good morning to the candidates, event organizers, and viewing audience. It's great to be with you this morning. As Sheila mentioned, my name is Brian Williams, and I am an assistant professor at SUNY Cortland in the Department of Political Science, where I teach classes primarily in world politics and comparative politics. I'm very pleased to be moderating this morning's forum and would like to thank the League of Women Voters and Cortland Voice for this great opportunity. The candidates with us today for Cortlandville's Town Council positions are Pam Jenkins and Peter Morse Ackley, both members of the Democratic Party. I'd like to take a moment to describe the procedure for the forum. We will begin our forum by allowing each candidate to make an opening statement of 2 minutes each. Sheila Cohen, the timekeeper, will hold up a yellow card after 1 minute and a red card when 2 minutes are up. After opening statements, I will ask the candidates a series of questions, which both candidates will have 1 minute to answer. The timer will hold up a yellow card after 30 seconds and a red card when 1 minute is up. At approximately 10:40, candidates will be invited to make a closing statement, each allocated 2 minutes. The forum is scheduled to end at approximately 10:45. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and begin with our forum? So by the way, as we proceed through the forum, I'm going to be giving both Pam and Peter opportunities to answer first for balance. So for the candidates' opening statements, why don't we start with Pam Jenkins?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Cortland County, to Tim Bennett of the Cortland Voice, to Dr. Williams, to everyone who's tuned in to today's forum, and to everyone who's helping on my campaign. Thank you. My name is Pam Jenkins. I'm running for a seat on the Cortlandville Town Board because we do not have the leaders we need. I've lived in Cortlandville for almost 30 years. I'm a physical therapist. I'm an appointed member of the Cortlandville Comprehensive Plan Committee. Our daughter graduated from Homer High School and Cornell University. The good things that my family has enjoyed by living in Cortlandville, I wish for other residents of Cortlandville. Among my priorities are these. I want to see Cortlandville include the public in decision-making so that government works better for everyone. We need to better identify and to better and more meaningfully address the priorities and needs and concerns of the residents of our town. I would ensure careful spending of tax dollars because high taxes are one of the greatest concerns we hear when we go door to door. I would use informed and thoughtful planning and development to protect our natural resources while building climate resiliency into our infrastructure projects. I want to see extension of water and sewer lines and expanded access to broadband technology. I would promote sustainable energy policy while also protecting our neighborhoods and prime farmlands for the future. It speaks volumes and volumes that the Republican candidates have chosen to duck this opportunity to present to voters on the issues facing our town. This follows decades of closed-door decision-making. I intend to open those doors and to meaningfully address the issues facing our town. I hope that voters will be sure to vote for me for a seat on the Cortlandville Town Board on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Next, Peter Morse Ackley.
Hi, folks. Thank you for having this. And you've had this debate for year after year. And thank you, folks who have made the time to listen to this. I'm Peter Morse Ackley. There are 3 openings on the Cortlandville Town Board, and I'm running for councilperson, as is Pam. Doug Withey is running for supervisor. I have so much I'd like to share with you and to do, but so little time and not enough words, and I don't know what you are interested in hearing about. For me, that reminds me much of what it is like to be a manager or governing things. There are so many ideas and goals, so many different people to try and please, and the need to bring it all together into focus with only so much time, so much money, and so many people. I have put my specific goals on Facebook. Type in Peter Morse Ackley and you will find them. If you want specifics, that's where it is. I hope we'll cover some of it today. My overall goal for the town board is to get things done to make Cortlandville a better place to live, to play, and to work. To do this, we need to be realistic in what our town can do and what we can't do as a town. We have good staff, a balanced budget. We have so many responsibility and services and so many choices. I'm not sure how to resolve all of this, but my suggestion is that we seek public input by mailing quarterly letters to people and using social media to identify your needs and your dreams. Then we will have town hall style meetings to reach consensus and to set priorities. From that, we can have true town goals, not just my personal goals, but town goals. And to do this quickly and efficiently. Right now, it takes a long time to get things done. I believe the combination of Doug Withy, Pam Jenkins, and myself can do this better than the people who are running against us. I'm ready for your questions.
Great. Thank you, Pam and Peter. So next, I'd like to move into the forum questions. And as was mentioned earlier, each candidate has up to 1 minute to respond. And I will repeat the questions for each candidate just so that it's fresh in their minds. And one other point before we begin, that candidates do not have to answer a question if they would prefer to pass on one. Okay, with those things said, why don't we go ahead and begin? Number one, what are the top 3 issues facing your constituents in order of priority? And what will you do to address them? And for this question, we will allow Peter to begin.
Well, for me, I think I need to hear from the constituents more as to what their issues are. From what I see, I think things like roadways, taxes, employment are key issues. They're not always my issues because I'm concerned also about how we're spending money. Taxes are certainly an issue, though. I'd like to see us do more to fill the empty storefronts that we have. I'd like to see us improve our roadways and maybe have some sidewalks and bike paths that we can connect up to trails. There's things that we can do that will not be expensive. We need to plan and get organized, but we need to hear from the people and not just be guessing what they want. And that's why I want to send out quarterly mailings and stuff with return, envelopes, so we can hear from people what they want, not just what I want. I'm good.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Peter. Next, Pam, I'll repeat the question. What are the 3 top issues facing your constituents in order of priority, and what will you do to address them?
Well, I've learned that by going door to door and also participating in the comprehensive plan process, that the public is frustrated by the ongoing nature of how Cortlandville does government, and that's by excluding the public, by decisions being made by a very small group of individuals. High taxes are a huge problem for people, and people are also very interested in protecting our natural resources while also having informed planning and development. So those, I would say, are the 3 main issues.
Okay, thank you, Pam. The next question concerns qualifications for the position. Specifically, what makes you qualified to be a town council member? Specifically, what experience do you have in public service or other areas that might contribute to your readiness for the position? In this question, we will allow Pam to answer first.
Thank you. Well, for decades, I've had a keen interest in issues facing Cortland County and Cortlandville, beginning when we were targeted to become a radioactive waste dump for the Northeast. And then again, recall the actions and leadership I provided when it came to Onondaga County wanting to turn our landfill into their ash landfill. I have a way of getting involved, doing the research, connecting with the people who are working on issues, and then informing and engaging the public. I've even gone so far, and when I'm seeking friends to work with, as knocking on doors and putting flyers on people's doors, and then alerting neighbors that way. And so organizing a group of people to work on issues with. And I really enjoy that. As far as, is my time? as far as public service, I've worked for public health departments, recently 14 months for the New York State Department of Health as a contact tracer, case investigator. I think I'm finished.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Pam. Peter, I will repeat the question for you. What makes you qualified to be a town council member? Specifically, what experience do you have in public service or other relevant domains?
Okay, I have worked with people for my entire career. I was a counselor as well as a manager and a director at agencies. I've been listening to people of all ages, economic backgrounds, etc. I've been on the board of directors at Access to Independence, including being on their executive board. I have been an advocate about solar issues and town government, and I have read thousands of pages. I mean, thousands of pages. The comprehensive plan alone is 300 pages. And I've read most of these a couple of times. So I've been listening to people. I am aware of a wide range of diversity. I've been able to travel. So I think I have a broad range of experience, both personally as well as in education and experience with people. And I think those skills I can use to help bring things together. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Okay, the next question concerns the preferences and/or priorities of Cortlandville residents. The question reads as follows. What are the priorities of Cortlandville residents in your view? How do you know and how will you help the town address these priorities? And for this question, I will allow Pam Jenkins to begin.
Okay, well, it goes back to the public needs to be included in decision making. I'm all for the town beginning to follow open meetings requirements and open meetings law. At this point, what happens is the town posts the agenda for a meeting the afternoon before the meeting, and they leave a lot of the things that are going to be discussed during the meeting off the agenda. That's completely unacceptable. Everything that's going to be discussed and all documents which are going to be referred to need to be available to the public in the week before the meeting, not just the afternoon before, so that the public can weigh in. I would prefer the town to have somewhat of a question and answer period, both before and after public meetings, because right now they leave things off the agenda so the public can't comment on them, and then they take actions which we also can't comment on. I appreciate that we have a brief privilege of the floor to speak for a few minutes on things that we need to, but this needs to be improved. Also, the minutes need to be out within the open meetings law requirement of 2 weeks. That basically never happens. And so priorities, it's by listening to our neighbors, by paying attention to the Cortland Voice, by reading the Cortland Standard, by going door to door. When we went door to door to collect signatures to oppose the contract which Cortlandville signed with the private baseball tournament company, people shared their priorities with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Peter, I'll repeat the question. In your view, what are the priorities of Cortlandville residents? How do you know and how will you help the town address these priorities?
This is kind of like the same question I feel that you asked us to open with. What are some of the priorities and what are we hearing? I think Pam's explained it well. For me, I tend to be more private person. So I have a small circle of friends I talk with, my neighbors. I read the papers, I read the Voice, I read the internet, I see comments. What I think needs to happen, again, is a lot of the things Pam says. We need to share information and get it out there. It seems really simple. When I started learning about town government and how people can maneuver things and hide things, and Pam described it well. There's an important vote. 1 hour before the vote, a contract is released. How the heck did town members read that contract in 1 hour and make an informed decision? They either had that contract early and didn't tell the public, or they're winging it. And either one is dangerous to the type of government I'd like to see. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Okay, so the next two questions relate to sports facilities. And the first of those two reads as follows. How do you explain the enormous increase in public funding for large sports facilities in the area? And how would you address the questions of who reaps the benefits financially and recreationally? And can you share the economic or other studies that you would use to back your ideas? And for this question, we'll allow Peter to go first.
Well, it's real interesting. The way I'm hearing it is, how do we explain the large increase? Is one, the county was nice to give $500,000 to the town because we owe like $3.7 million. There's been commitments made to building a very expensive park as a business to make money, to hopefully improve the economic development of the town. I don't believe towns should be running businesses. That's not our expertise. The things I've seen, I watch numbers come out. They talk about the economic impact. People need to realize that's a fudge factor that comes out. The state has a formula they use to say how much benefit is being done. We don't have details yet. I think the town needs to do a better job of identifying the costs, sharing the details, and maybe this is a good idea, and maybe it's not. Other towns are doing the same thing. The population is shrinking. I think we have a problem. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Pam, I'll repeat the question for you. How would you explain the enormous increase in public funding for large sports facilities? And how would you address the questions of who reaps the benefits financially and recreationally? And can you share the studies that you would use to back your ideas?
To be clear, I'm a fan of Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex, but I'm not a fan of further burdening taxpayers by expanding it so that we could just hand the keys over to a private for-profit baseball tournament company. Cortlandville already spent $4.1 million for what is there now. We are almost $2.7 million in debt for that now. The problem is Cortlandville never had a business plan. They are unable to show their math because they did not do the math. They are unable to back up their wild claims about the value of Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex to the local economy. In fact, Cortlandville only gets a little over 1 cent of every sales tax dollar that is generated within Cortland County. So we are challenging the secret contract Cortlandville signed on August 4th with the private for-profit baseball tournament company. That contract is not in the interest of taxpayers. Complying with that contract would cause several $1 million of more debt for Cortlandville taxpayers. It's a contract that is not sustainable and would only burden taxpayers. And to be sure, as a retired physical therapist, I am way in favor of lifelong wellness activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Can I interrupt with the question? I'm not sure it's fair, but I'm doing it anyhow. These are long, complicated questions. That was a lot of information that both Pam and I could share, but in a minute, we can't do it justice. If people want to write us, or if we want to come back to some of these questions for a longer answer, I'd be glad to do that.
Okay. Thank you for adding that, Peter. The next question actually does overlap a little bit with the previous one, so perhaps this will allow you to elaborate a bit more if you feel like your answer was already, if you feel like you had already presented your answer, then you can keep it brief as you prefer. Here goes. Please explain your position on the Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex, and do you favor a referendum on the project? We'll begin with Peter.
My position on Gutchess is we need to see the numbers. I also would like to see us have more local access. I'd like to make sure the fields are adaptable. The first phase was supposed to include adaptable fields, and it didn't happen. For the Little League, for softball, we can't play that on the current fields. The next phase is supposed to have it, but no details have been released. The whole thing, to me, is just a huge mess. I can't remember the question. It really is a concern. Other towns are developing this. 5 years ago, this was a great idea. It's a booming industry, but we need to be careful about how much we're putting into it. If the larger community wants to say that they will help fund the debt, that would change my answer. But for right now, it's Cortlandville and the Cortlandville kids and the girls and even just families. There's nothing there for families to do except the playground. Let's have some fields where people can go out and kick a ball around and do things. And to do all of that stuff, they're talking about another $10 million. I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Pam, I'll repeat the question for you. Please explain your position on the Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex, and do you favor a referendum on the project?
Well, because the the secret contract which Cortlandville signed requires the spending of multiple millions of dollars of further tax burden, we are entitled to have a referendum, and 243 voters agree. We had just 3 days to collect those signatures, and we did. We got almost twice as many signatures as were required. If anyone looks at the contract which Cortlandville signed, they will see that the locals would have very limited access to the facility that our tax dollars have built. So yes, I'm in favor of a referendum. I'm in favor of finding a way to determine to make sustainable what is already there, and to build things like the things that the locals want, which is walking trails and things like that. But expanding so that we could hand the keys over to a private baseball tournament company is just not acceptable.
Okay, thank you, Pam. And the next question is actually also on the Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex. Specifically, what is your position with respect to artificial turf versus grass for the complex baseball fields? The sports complex is over the aquifer that supplies city and town water. Is there a plan to protect it from what would leach off crumb rubber infill from the turf, herbicides, and pesticides? And for this question, we'll allow Pam to go first.
Okay, well, first I'd like to say that Cortlandville failed to put anything about the Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex to the Cortland County Planning Board or the Cortlandville Planning Board. They also actually failed to undertake an environmental review. They filled out a few forms, gave it a negative declaration, but did not address any of the issues. As far as artificial turf, well, I know from my family members' experience that artificial turf is very expensive to acquire and very expensive to repair and extremely expensive to replace. And those things would all fall upon Cortlandville to do. I'm not exactly sure about how much would leach out from the crumb rubber. I studied it in the past when we were thinking of covering the landfill with crumb rubber, but there is some stuff that leaches out. Of course, the use of pesticides to maintain all the single species lawn would be another issue, but I haven't delved into that. Excuse me, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Peter, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your position with respect to artificial turf versus grass for the Gutchess Lumber Sports Complex baseball fields? The sports complex is over the aquifer that supplies city and town water. Is there a plan to protect it from what would leach off crumb rubber infill, herbicides, and or pesticides?
I have no idea if there's a plan for that. I certainly would hope the town has a plan for that. When they built it, as Pam points out, they haven't always done the environmental studies that need to be done and to specify what's going to be used. Artificial turf is great to play on. It's durable. Kids love it. It can be wonderful, but it's expensive. So again, that's outside my ballpark, so to speak. But I think that we need to have studies and get some information from people to make a better decision.
Okay, thank you, Peter. The next question will turn to a different topic. Specifically, what is your position regarding public health and safety measures for combating the spread of COVID-19? and what actions can the town take? Peter, we'll allow you to answer this first.
Well, I think that public health is always a concern. I believe everybody has a position on it. I'm in favor of getting vaccines. I'm going to get my booster as soon as they, kind of release it from Moderna. That's the shot I've got. I think the town needs to protect our employees, and we need to spread information. We need to find out what we can do to address the needs of people that are concerned about catching it and want to get vaccines. And I think we also need to listen to the people that are opposed to vaccines and see what we can do to make sure that we understand their concerns and how do they keep themselves safe and how do we help keep the whole town safe. It's not just about me keeping me safe, it's about me keeping my community safe. And I think we need to just talk to people, and that's why I'd like to see more interchange between people and the town government so that these issues can be discussed jointly. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Pam, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your position regarding public health and safety measures for combating the spread of COVID-19, and what actions can the town take?
Okay, well, I've been a healthcare provider for 35 years, and when Governor Cuomo asked for helpers to work with the New York State Department of Health in contact tracing and case investigation, I joined that effort. I was a case investigator, contact tracer for 14 months. I just got a call yesterday that I'm needed back, so I'm going to return to that position starting next week. I believe that the town and the county should do everything possible to facilitate testing and vaccinations. That's the only way we're going to get out of this pandemic. That's the only way we got out of the polio epidemic. And I believe actually locally, businesses should be active in enforcing use of masks indoors, because if they don't do that, it's all too tempting for people to shop online or elsewhere where they feel more safe. And that's to the detriment of local businesses who don't keep us and the people around us healthy. So vaccinate, get tested, avoid indoor crowded spaces, use masks.
Thank you, Pam. For the next question, we're going to be turning to a ballot proposal that's going to be up this November. And it reads as follows. What is your position on ballot proposal number 2, specifically the right to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment? And more specifically, can the town take any measures to address these factors? Again, clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment. Peter, we'll allow you to respond first on this one.
I'm certainly voting yes for it. Obviously, the devil will be in the details as to how this is implemented and what regulations are written for it. But everybody should have clean air, clean water, and a good environment. To me, that includes solar energy, but doing it properly and not just spreading it all over the place. Water, we need to protect our aquifer. The town has been sitting on a plan for over 18 months that would protect our wellhead protection. We need to protect our water. We need to just pay attention to what's happening with climate change. There are things the town can do on a local level that will help. To me, it's so obvious, we just need to do it. I hope everybody votes for that proposal. And again, we need to be careful. I'm not looking to have all sorts of regulations that interfere with businesses and have 50 pages to do something. We should find a way to make sure our environment is safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Pam, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your position on ballot proposal number 2, the right to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment?
Well, if you know me at all, you know I'm in favor of those things. Absolutely, human health depends on clean air, clean water, and a clean environment. And there's a confluence with social justice issues also. For instance, I would be not in favor of rural areas, disempowered areas being targeted for negative impact polluting facilities. I wouldn't want to put polluting facilities anywhere where children or schools or senior living facilities are. I think the town should be pushing for clean fuel standards and zero emission vehicles. And I think that in all building projects, we should require the LEED standards. Those are the worldwide standards for any energy efficient green building. And I think it can only enhance our town, our businesses, and protect our future.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Okay, the next question is also related to the environment. It reads as follows. What is your plan to help mitigate the effects of future Cortlandville flooding events? And to change the order a bit, we'll allow Pam to go first on this one.
Okay, thank you. Well, as I said, I'm an appointed member of the Cortlandville Comprehensive Planning Committee, and I work very hard to build in some things that would protect our infrastructure. I think that we need to limit the amount of filling in wetlands and floodplains and limit the amount of development in floodplains and floodways. We have to work very hard to make sure some of those protections get put into place when the comprehensive plan actually becomes instituted. So we need to study where the problems are and, again, limit filling and development in floodplains and wetlands. And I think we all should expect that we're going to have an increase in 100-year floods happening with increased regularity and an increase in excessive rain events, and be ready for those. As I said, we need to build climate resiliency into our infrastructure.
Thank you, Pam. Peter, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your plan to help mitigate the effects of future flooding events in Cortlandville?
Well, again, I think this is something that as a counselor, I don't have a lot of experience with. What I've read, I like the things that Pam is saying. I've seen highway departments do things to maintain the roads, to make sure there's passage. We need to prepare for more extreme situations. One of my concerns that I've seen is that I think we have some good zoning laws and we're proposing to improve them, but we also get variances and use variances, and people are allowed to do things that are outside the zoning, requirements. So I think we need to be careful at what we're doing, and maybe, I don't want to say prepare for the worst, but we need to, to prepare for more extreme events. And I think that's things I can encourage the experts that do the work to make sure they're preparing for more extreme things. I don't need to be the experts. Our highway department and other departments need to take care of that for us. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Right, the next two questions concern the Groton Avenue Plaza. The Groton Avenue Plaza has some serious problems: large pools of water after heavy rainfall and snowmelt, ruts that are unsafe for drivers and pedestrians, overall poor appearance. How can the town council help owners to improve the safety of the lot and the overall appearance of the shopping center? Pam, would you like to go first on this one?
Sure, I'd love to. One of the goals of the Comprehensive Plan Committee is to prioritize infill development, meaning let's redevelop places that have been blacktopped or developed and are no longer in use. I'd like to see productive businesses be put into that place, more restaurants to offer more variety for people and places to spend their money. I've often contacted the codes department of Cortlandville to ask them to please decrease the hazards to cars and pedestrians that are posed by the huge missing pieces of asphalt that are there. And sometimes it takes a while for those things to be addressed, but they have been addressed at times. It's sort of an ongoing battle. I think actually the town should inspect all those pieces of unused property or sort of vacant property on a regular basis so that they know and they monitor the situation of the crumbling parking lots instead of having citizens have to do that for them.
Thank you, Pam. Peter, I'll repeat the question for you. The Groton Avenue Plaza has some serious problems: large pools of water after heavy rainfall and snowmelt, ruts that are unsafe for drivers and pedestrians, overall poor appearance. How can the town council help owners to improve the safety of the lot and the overall appearance of the shopping center?
Well, I'm kind of a little stuck on this because part of this to me is that it's private property. The owner should be doing this work, not the town. It'd be nice if the town could fix everything, but I don't think that's the town government's job. If there's regulations that need to be applied better for entryway to and from the highway, but I'm unclear just as to how much we need to be doing on private property. And people can complain, they should be complaining to the owners. Perhaps we can make it more clear who the owners are and who our citizens can contact directly to address their concerns. They also can talk to the local store owners that can talk to the folks that manage the parking lot. We have a lot of parking lots. We've got the Kmart lot. We have lots of undeveloped things. Infill development's good. We need to pay attention to it. There's only so much a local town can do, though. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. The next and final question I will allow Pam to reply to first. It reads as follows. What steps could you take to foster a more civil, collaborative, and productive community in the town of Cortlandville?
Okay, thank you. That goes back to the town being more transparent, making their agendas available the week before instead of the afternoon before all meetings, including a question and answer period at the beginning and at the ends of all meetings, making minutes available within the required open meetings law timeframe of 2 weeks. And let's see what else. I think that would be a good start. Right now, too many decisions are made behind closed doors, and it's completely unacceptable.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Peter, I'll repeat the question for you.
Mhm.
What steps could you take to foster a more civil, collaborative, and productive community?
Well, I think it needs to start with me at trying to listen better when I don't agree with people. I need to pay attention and be aware of my comments and maybe built-in biases that I have. I do believe that I have biases. I think everybody has biases, and I need to be aware of them. And I need to understand other folks have biases. So we need to be able to talk and be civil. I need to show tolerance and also, though, request tolerance from people. If they're not going to be polite and civil, I think we should have a way to just turn off their microphone and take it away from them. We need to role model what needs to happen. And I think that we can do that as a town board by having questions and answers. Right now, the town board, we talk at them, they talk back at us. It needs to be mutual. I agree with Pam, there needs to be questions and answers. It needs to be respected, though. And people can't just come in and unload with the F-bombs and all this stuff. So I need to role model it. And I think we can do better.
Okay, that concludes our question and answer portion of the forum. Thank you to Pam and Peter for your thoughtful responses to each question. I'd like to proceed now to the closing statements. And as was mentioned previously, each candidate will be allocated 2 minutes. And since Pam was able to make the first opening statement, I'll allow Peter to make the first concluding statement. So Peter, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thanks. I first want to throw in, just from listening to Pam, that I agree 100% for testing for COVID and making those resources more available. We need to do outreach. I'm 100% for the referendum. I would like to see the town convert some of our vehicles to electric. Not all of them, but some of them it might fit. In closing, I want to thank everyone involved and to all of you who have listened. I've spent the last 15 months learning about town government. I have gone to board meetings. I've learned how to Zoom. I've read thousands of pages. I've read the comprehensive plans, 1978 and 2020, several times, so that when I speak, I can be accurate in what I say and write. I am ready for this job. Pam, Doug, Withy, and I will do a better job than the other people who are running. We showed up, they didn't. So look at our ideas and our goals, think about it, and then go vote for Pam, Peter, and Doug. And on election day, Tuesday, November 2nd, please vote. You also can vote early. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Pam, your closing statements?
Thanks, Peter. I hope the voters would agree that I'm highly qualified to take a seat on the Cortlandville Town Board, and that they would give me their vote on November 2nd. I've demonstrated that I put in the hard work, ask the hard questions, and that I expect meaningful answers, and that I'm a creative problem solver and a good team player. I know that bringing change takes persistence and tenacity, and it takes time, and it takes a team. The Republican candidates ducked this forum. They have chosen not to publicly discuss the issues facing our town. This follows decades of closed-door decision-making and self-dealing, which has benefited the few at taxpayer expense. According to the 2019 New York State Comptroller's investigation, when Greg Leach had a seat on the town board last time, a few years ago, he had Cortlandville spend around $23,000 in labor and materials on his private property in Blodgett Mills. He never paid us back. We simply cannot allow him to take public office again. He cannot be trusted with our treasury. I plan to open the doors and invite the public to be part of determining priorities and decisions that are made by the town government so that our government works better for everyone. I would ensure careful spending of tax dollars. I would use informed and thoughtful planning and development to protect our natural resources while building climate resiliency into our infrastructure projects. I want to see extension of water and sewer lines and expanded access to broadband technology to level the playing field for all town residents and especially students. I would promote sustainable energy policy while also protecting our neighborhoods and prime farmlands for the future. We are blessed with prime farmland and good water, and very few places in the country can claim to have both. Please visit my website at electpamjenkins.com and on Facebook at Vote Pam Jenkins. Thank you all again.
Great. Thank you, Pam. I have a few concluding comments. This concludes our forum with two of Cortlandville's town council candidates. I'd like to thank the candidates, Pam Jenkins and Peter Morse Ackley, both endorsed by the Democratic Party, for participating in this event, the League for organizing it, and the Cortland Voice for making the event available to the public. In addition to these and other candidates on the November 2nd ballot, you will find 5 propositions on which you can vote. Propositions 1 through 5 are explained in League pamphlets available in libraries on campus and other locations in Cortlandville. You can also request a pamphlet from the League via email at lwvcortland@gmail.com. Thank you.
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.